I'm on a journey to learn to be able to bear cold water on my skin. A couple of days of abnormally warm weather at the end of October this year gave me the courage to challenge myself. So one day I took the time to drive all the way out of New York City, camp by the beach, and wait for the right moment to enter the water. I thought that moment was in the warm afternoon when the sun was still up to fuel my courage, but the low tide didn't help me and the water was absolutely uninviting. I called it a day and went to sleep. I never swam in the ocean, not even in midsummer. Too cold for me. I can barely swim in the Mediterranean Sea where I come from because most of the times I find it too cold. It's really not fun to be the only one in the group that doesn't go in, or arrive in front of a beautiful body of water and only be able to dip your feet. Also, I've heard that cold dips help suffer the winter cold less, and I could really use that. The morning was beautifully sunny, but quite chilly from the night still. I drove back to the beach and waited for the 25 degrees Celsius that the weather forecast promised. Such a good place to edit videos. It's amazing. Whenever I take a break, I'm not, at home looking at four walls. I'm here. Also, I love seagulls. I think they're such underrated animals because they are everywhere, but they are so beautiful, both alone and in a group. What in the world is happening? It looks like they lost their oars or something. It's noon, I'm hungry, time for lunch. At noon! This time the other table is in the shade, so I had to get the one on the road. But this is a public beach at least, so I'm not illegal here. A few weeks ago I made this mung bean and spinach and potatoes curry, which turned out so delicious, and I'm so happy that I made a huge batch and froze a few portions of it. I used to be a smoker for about 10 years, 5 cigarettes a day. I quit a few years back, very effectively. I rarely crave smoking now, and whenever I let myself go and have one or two, I do it without sense of guilt. The day after, I wake up and stay clean with no big effort. fact is that I never took the decision to quit smoking. Indeed, I quit in a very unconventional way that probably wouldn't work for most people, but that made me learn something very useful about me. It taught me how to effectively bring myself to do things that I consider dreadful. And I applied the same technique that day at the beach. Time to digest my lunch. I'm gonna read, but I'm gonna do it on the beach. And I'm prepared with swimsuit, towel, flip-flops, and all the necessary stuff to go swim. of October. Unbelievable. And there you go, another law that kills my enthusiasm, my life, everything. What does this mean? Americans watching, please, are these signs just there to, I don't know, scare people or for liability, or do I really need to follow these rules? I don't understand. Now I don't know what to do. Should I swim or not? Just want to dive in the water for a second. In English, they say ripping off the Band-Aid to mean when you do something unpleasant quickly to minimize the pain or fear of it. The first tip to quit smoking is set a date or quit cold turkey. Only the thought of it gives me anxiety. I would never rip off a Band-Aid. I'm the kind of person who would gradually, slowly and gently let it come off by melting the glue with some oil or alcohol. I was reading my book while laying on my towel, and then I decided to go stand in the water, and I kept reading. For a few minutes, I was in only with my feet. It felt super cold. Then I started feeling better, so I went in with my calves, and then slowly into my thighs, and even to my hips. I came back now to put the book down. Okay, I'm gonna go in the water. The only problem is that I just ate, and as an Italian, I grew up convinced that you cannot swim if you just ate or if you haven't waited at least 2-3 hours after you had your meal. And I just had my curry for lunch. When I moved abroad, I discovered that this is not true, or better, it's true only for Italians. I don't know what's the deal with it. Nobody else in the world believes this. It's really not a rule. You will find little toddlers going in the water right after they ate, no problem. So let's see how it goes. The water is pretty cold. I wanted to see if I could delay the first cigarette of the day to later in the morning, just out of curiosity, to challenge myself every once in a while. That's when it started. After a couple of years, it began to give me nausea to have it at 7 a.m. Then I tried not to smoke in the whole morning, have the first one at noon. No pressure. Sometimes I could make it. Then, often, I would make it. At that point, why ruin my lunch with a bad taste in the mouth? Better postpone the first cigarette to the early afternoon. This went on, extremely slowly, extremely gradually, extremely loose over the course of several years in my teenage and 20s, until eventually I was only smoking a couple of them when out at night. The same half-empty pack of cigarettes would linger in my purse for over a week. Then I started traveling full-time, on carry-on only. Every inch in my luggage was precious, so I stopped carrying the pack with me. That's how I definitively quit smoking, with close to no effort. Nowadays, I'm learning to swim in cold waters, which is an absolutely dreadful sensation to me. In the past, people around me would always yell, "Buttati! Dai, buttati! Dive in! Come on, dive in!" Sometimes I would do it. I would eventually let myself fall into the cold water, but the overall experience would end up being so terrible that the bad memory of it prevented me from even trying the next time. These days, I'm trying again with a more controlled approach. I realized that the only way I can convince my body to get submerged is with a lot of patience. I descend into the water gently, gradually, slowly. I don't set myself the goal to go in completely. I just challenge myself step by step, bit by bit. See if I can make it to my thighs, to my hips, to my chest. Focusing on the pleasant surprise of the discomfort fading away after I give it a minute, and then proceeding. I learned that this is the method that works for me. If my endeavor is too big, first of all, I avoid putting any pressure or expectation on getting to the finish line. And then I split it in little manageable objectives. I let my persistence be fueled by the small satisfaction of discovering myself able to achieve them, one after the other. With patience, one day in the future, I realized that my habit happened to magically change for the better.
I guess what I wanted to say with this is just that sometimes maybe if you're trying to pursue a goal and it's not working and the goal seems too far away, too hard to reach, maybe the reason is just that we are not using the right approach, the right method. So experimenting with different ways to do things is always fruitful in the end. And maybe if you've been trying to quit smoking or change a habit for improving your wellness, maybe you've been trying with the different mindset or the different approach or the different technique. Try to change it and see what happens.